So thank you again for joining us. Let's get started. So we would like to first introduce the speakers for this afternoon. We have Hugo Choquette, the Academic Director of Certificate in Law. We also have Amanda Blair, the Program Coordinator of Certificate in Law. We have some students who will be sharing their experiences. So we have Lucy Schafer, a graduating student, and we have Isaac Pekeles, a graduate of Certificate in Law who is currently pursuing his Juris Doctor or JD studies at Queen's University. So before we start, let's first watch a video about Certificate in Law to give you an idea about the program.
The Queen's Certificate in Law is Canada's only online program designed to provide everybody with an introductory legal education covering many areas of law. Whether you're interested in pursuing law school, sharpening your professional skills, or just gaining knowledge, the Certificate in Law is right for you. The Queen's Certificate in Law offers 7 courses, including Introduction to Canadian Law, Corporate Law, Aboriginal Law, Workplace Law, Public and Constitutional Law, Intellectual Property, and International Law. Successful completion of 4 courses will grant you a certificate from Queen's University. You can also just take 1 or 2 courses that interest you. To find out more about the Queen's Certificate in Law, visit takelaw.ca.
So now that we have more ideas about the program, let's hear from Hugo Choquette, the Academic Director of Certificate in Law, to talk about more about the program.
Well, thank you very much, Christina, and welcome everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, and I encourage you to ask any questions you might have about the program. So I'm going to just briefly introduce the program as a whole, and then Amanda Blair will go into a bit more detail about how you apply and how the program works. So the undergraduate certificate in law is a key part of Queen's Law's mission to bring legal education to a wider audience. And the unique advantage of the certificate is that it is offered by a law school and has been designed by a faculty of law, which is unique among these kinds of programs. So as part of that, you get the benefit of the Queen's Law community. And you can see here on this screen some of the advantages that Queen's Law has to offer. We have some of the highest placement rates, and obviously our graduates work throughout the legal world. We have some very active research projects going on. We're a leader in innovation, and we have a lot of opportunities for our students. And as members of the Certificate in Law program, you will have access to some of these advantages, which is one of the reasons to take the program. We can go on to the next slide here, Christina. Thank you. So why take the Certificate in Law program? Well, again, the certificate is really designed to provide some really good background understanding of law to a wider audience. So just to make clear, the Certificate in Law does not get you a law degree. It does not make you able to practice law or engage in the legal profession in Canada, but it does give you some very good background knowledge of the law. It's designed for convenience and flexibility. We recognize that our students take our courses in various circumstances. Some may work full-time, some are full-time students. So all of the courses in the program is really designed and optimized to meet your learning needs and to be able to be completed really from anywhere. And we do have students that take our courses in the program from all over Canada and even the world. You can finish all of the requirements of the program in either 2 terms or 2 years as you wish, and you can even take longer if it's necessary. But you can certainly complete the program at your own pace. There are 4 3-credit courses that you have to take for a total of 12 credits. Now, if you are and Amanda will explain this in more detail, but if you are an undergraduate student in another program, you can also take 2 of those credits as electives in your own program. All of our courses are taught by legal professionals who are Queen's Law professors who are experts in their field. And all of our courses are TA'd by students who are JD students, that is current law students completing a law degree. So that's one big advantage of our courses as well. As you take the course, you'll be interacting with the teaching assistants who are full-time law students who are completing their training to become lawyers and can give you a sense of what that's like and also help you by imparting some of their expertise as well. And we offer quite a unique variety of courses. So we offer 7 courses, and I'll go into a little more detail about the courses in a second, each one covering a unique aspect of Canadian law. So here are the courses listed that we will be that you can take as part of the program. Remember, there are 7 being offered. Not all the courses are offered every term, but all of them are offered within an academic year. And you can certainly you can choose 4 of these. So you have to complete 4 of these courses to complete the certificate. Our recommended first course is the Introduction to Canadian Law course. And it's really a course we recommend to all of our students because it really does give you a solid foundation in the basics of Canadian law and the Canadian legal system. So we'll cover a wide range of topics of law, and you'll get a little taste of the other courses through taking that course, because we'll touch briefly on all of these other courses and the areas that they cover. And you'll also cover directly some courses that we don't yet offer, such as, it does discuss criminal law in the Introduction to Canadian Law course. The Aboriginal law course specifically deals with issues having to do with the relationship between the Canadian state and Indigenous peoples in Canada. So we cover areas such as land claims, Aboriginal rights, issues with Indigenous persons in the criminal justice system, all kinds of those topics that are related to that relationship between Canada and Indigenous peoples. Workplace law, as the title might suggest, gives you a good overview of all of the laws that apply in specific workplace, not just in unionized workplaces, but in all kinds of employment situations. And it's really a good course to have, given that most people will end up in an employment situation where they will have to understand their rights as workers. Corporate law, again, covers the basics of how corporations operate, how business in general operates, and goes into a lot of the more detail about particular business transactions and how they work from a legal standpoint. Public and constitutional law, I would say, is essential for a good understanding of your rights as a citizen. It covers, of course, the constitutional law, including charter rights, for example, but also the areas of administrative law. So, how people go about enforcing those rights that they have under our Constitution and our laws. Intellectual property, of course, covers areas such as copyright, patents, and trademarks. Very important areas, particularly if you're interested in science or engineering or any other creative profession. That would be a course that would probably be of high interest to you. And finally, international law, which of course covers that area of law that deals with international relations, and also increasingly important in today's world. So those are all the courses we offer, and I really encourage you to find out more about each course. And of course, I invite you to ask questions if you have questions about any of our courses. So again, coming back to the basic question, why should you take the certificate in law? Well, everyone should really have a basic understanding of the law. Law affects all of us in many ways on a day-to-day basis. And so having a good understanding of the foundations of law and how it works can help you both on a personal and a professional basis. It will help with your professional development. Having a better understanding of law will help you no matter what area you work in, even if your area of your area of employment is not anywhere related to law. It also, though, the certificate can help you if you are interested in pursuing a legal career at some point down the road, including pursuing law school. And in fact, we have a student here with us today who's going to discuss how the certificate helped him to pursue that path. Just generally, if you want to learn more about Canadian law, and it does help you to stand out in a competitive job market, because it is, as you're presenting yourself as a job candidate, it does give you an extra credential that you can say you have a certificate in law, so that you have that basic understanding of the legal system and how law works. So for all those reasons, I think we highly recommend taking the certificate in law. And again, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about that. Here we have a testimonial from a student who took the certificate in law. And some of our graduates work in education, they work in government and politics, they work in all various fields of business, in engineering. We've had several of our students go on to law school and become legal professionals, or they might work in arts and media companies. So there's really no particular area that some of our graduates haven't been involved in and haven't been able to apply the knowledge that they learned through the certificate in law. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Hugo, for telling us about the program. Now that we have a more in-depth view of the program, I will welcome Amanda Blair, Program Coordinator of Certificate in Law, to talk about the admissions process and the requirements.
Thanks, Christina. So the next two slides we're going to go through are more to deal with the program structure. So this first slide is for those students who are completing a degree, whether that be on campus or through distance, the Arts and Science Online. So you could take two courses, you would take your first two courses at the 200 level, and you would be assessed your home faculty tuition rates. There is an option for those students on campus that can take Commerce 382 in place of corporate law, EMPR 210 in place of workplace law, and Philosophy of Law 318 in place of any one of our 200 level law courses. And then after that, the next step would be to take the two courses at the 700 level. These courses would be assessed the Faculty of Law tuition fees. The other thing to note is that these 700 level courses do not count towards degree requirements. Only the two courses at the 200 level would be counted as electives. These 700 level courses are included in your GPA. So I would just recommend speaking to an academic advisor in your home faculty about that as well, just to ensure everything is set up with your degree requirements. Yeah, so I guess we can go on to the next slide, Christina. So the next slide is for those students who are external, so they're in the program, or those students who are interest students, so are non-degree. So these students would take all 4 law courses at the 700 level, and they would be assessed the Faculty of Law tuition rates. The only difference between the external and the interest category is that interest students would need to take their first 2 courses at the 700 level. Once you've met academic progression of at least a C+ in those first 2 courses, you'll automatically be matriculated into the program. And that'll be done by our office, our Student Services office. And once that's done, we just send you an email to say that it's been processed. The academic progression does apply to all students in the program, not just the interest in external, but also for those who are also completing a degree on campus or online. You need to meet academic progression in all 4 of the courses that you've taken. If you don't meet the criteria, you can either retake the course and the higher grade will count on your academic record, or you can enroll in one of the other courses that we offer. All right, so the next slide is our course offering. So it shows which courses are offered in the summer term, fall, and winter term. Starting back in fall, we're hoping to reintegrate our blended version of Introduction to Canadian Law. It's been on hiatus since winter of 2020. So we're hoping, so usually during the academic year, fall and winter, we have 2 offerings of Introduction to Canadian Law, the blended version on campus and the online version. Now, only the students on campus completing a degree can take the on-campus course. Everyone else would have to take the online the courses. So the other thing I did want to mention is, oh yes, if you do want to learn more about our course offerings and where they're on our Certificate in Law website, if you go to the About page and scroll down about 3/4 of the way down, there is a law course offering schedule. So it'll outline all of our courses and when each course is offered which term, which will help you better plan your courses and which ones you want to take when. If you have any questions regarding which courses you should take, or just need any kind of assistance, you can always email myself. The information will be at the back end of the presentation if you need to contact me. All right, so the other big question we always get is how much does it cost? So there is a $100 application fee that has to be, it's submitted at the time of when you submit your application, and is made payable to undergrad admissions office. 200 level law courses are always assessed at your home faculty tuition rate. And then 700 level law courses are assessed the $1,134. This price or this cost is for domestic fees. So anyone looking to wants more details on international fees, you can go to our website, thetakelaw.ca, and go to the About page. And if you scroll down, there'll be a fee section. So they'll give more information about those fees, as well as there's a link to the Office of the University Registrar's website with more information regarding tuition fees. So the certificate in law is a part-time program. So some students who are in the program may be eligible for part-time assistance. Unfortunately, those students who are interested who are admitted as interest students are ineligible. However, once you've been matriculated into the program after completing the first 2 courses, you may be eligible for the last 2 courses. So if you have more information, if you need more information on financial aid or want to visit the Student Awards website, you can go to queensu.ca/student awards, or if you go to our website on the About page, there is a link to their website. Just one other note I want to make about the cost before, sorry, Christina. I had just a quick note about course materials and textbooks. So students will have to purchase textbooks. They range anywhere from $75 to $130. You can purchase them as a hard copy or an electronic version through the campus bookstore or directly from the publisher, wherever that may be. Not all of our courses do have textbooks. Aboriginal law and public and constitutional law, they do have mandatory readings, but they're included right in the course page. All right, so this slide is the admissions. So anyone who is interested in applying to the program, you would need successful completion of at least 1 year of studies at a recognized university, and your GPA must be a minimum of 2.6. Or if you have completed 2-year diploma or 2 years of a 3-year full-time advanced diploma at a recognized college and have a GPA of 2.9 or higher, you would be admitted to the program. For students who are interested in applying as the non-degree interest law student, no supporting documentation is required. So you don't have to send in any academic records from any post-secondary institutions. However, candidates must be 21 years of age or older at the time of submitting their application. So currently our applications for summer 2022 are open until April 1st. And so courses for summer term do start May 9th. And if for those students who may not be interested, or if you're a first-year student and you can't apply until fall term, or you would rather wait until fall term, our application for fall term would be open from June 1st to August 1st.
So that's it for Amanda. Thank you so much for telling us more about the requirements and the admissions process. We're also happy to welcome some of the certificate in law graduates and students who will be sharing their experience. So first off, we have Lucy Schafer, who is graduating from this program this year. She's actually working full-time, and she used to work at the Marketing and Communications Department of Queen's Faculty of Law. But she's now with Queen's University Faculty of Arts and Sciences. We also have Pekeles, who, as we explained earlier, was a former student, but then pursued legal studies and is now taking his JD at Queen's University. So Lucy and Isaac, if you could just please share what led you to take this program and how it helped you in your careers. We would be happy to have that. So we'll start with Lucy first.
Hello, thank you, Christina, and hi, everyone. Oh my gosh, I'm very excited to talk about this just because I love this program, and not just because I worked for the Faculty of Law and worked really closely with the program, but just since being a student in it, I'm like a huge advocate. So I'm really excited to be here today. Thank you. So I first heard about the program, as Christina mentioned, because I worked for Queen's Law. So I was really familiar with the certificate in law program, the courses that they offered, and most importantly is that I heard from students a lot, not just their testimonials, but even just one-on-one conversations. And I really heard the way that they enjoyed the courses, but also how much it made a difference to them just in their day in, day out lives. And that's really what made me want to pursue the program. So I'm going to say, yeah, I'm 3 courses in now. So I'm finishing up my 4th course. So I'll be graduating this spring with my certificate. So far I've taken the intro class, I've taken Aboriginal law, corporate law, and I am currently completing workplace law. As Christina mentioned, so I am working full-time while I complete my certificate. I've taken 1 course per semester. It's gone by really quickly. I can't believe that I'm already completing 4 courses. So I'm no longer working at Queen's Law, but I'm at the Faculty of Arts and Science working full-time, and I have not had a single problem with trying to balance a full-time position while taking this. As I mentioned, I'm only taking 1 course per semester. In terms of my workload, all of the courses are pre-recorded and you can work at your own time. You can complete the readings and the lectures when it best works for your schedule. I usually do about an hour or 2 during the weekdays, and then I have the weekends to really catch up on my work. And the quizzes are all due on Sunday, so it's nice that I have that time to kind of hunker down and really work on it and then test my knowledge at the end of the week. So I have not had any troubles balancing it whatsoever. I've also worked with a lot of other mature students because I'll mention later, you work in a lot of group projects, which is another thing I absolutely love about the courses that you take in the certificate. And I work with a lot of other mature students as well that are working full time. And I've heard the same thing from them. And it's really interesting to get together and see the different, I mean, as Hugo was mentioning, that there's students in every single aspect and every single career. And it's interesting to hear how each student that's taking the course, why they're taking it and how it applies to their jobs as well. So it's really interesting to get those different perspectives too. But for me, particularly in my career, what it helps me with, and I would say that the courses have helped me both personally and professionally. I'll start with professionally first. But with being in marketing and working more in a business setting, I found corporate law has played a huge role in what I've worked on and in the intro course as well. So talking about CASA compliance, also copyrights and trademarks, but also in being an employee myself, I'm taking the workplace law course now, and it's nice to know what your rights are. I'm part of a union from working at Queen's, and so it's interesting to better understand what it is to be in a union and to understand the collective bargaining regime, which I never really understood beforehand. So it's really interesting. And from a personal perspective, literally, I just didn't realize that the law was everywhere, and it's particularly interesting to take these courses. I took the intro class and learned about public and constitutional law while the pandemic was kind of first picking up. And that's a particularly interesting time to understand the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, to understand the Constitution, to understand what rights you have as a Canadian citizen, to understand the division of powers. I didn't understand what laws and public policies were made at a provincial level versus at a federal level. So it was really interesting just with the time that we're in right now to understand those things. And I think that it's a basic understanding that every Canadian should have. So I'm very thankful for that. In terms of just what I like about the course also is just the format of it. I like that there's every single course I've taken so far has had a wide range of assignments, quizzes, discussions, presentations. So there's many opportunities. If your strength isn't in writing a paper, you have the chance to do quizzes or you have a chance to do a presentation. Vice versa, if you're not great at memorizing and doing a quiz, then you have the opportunity to build your grade up in different ways. So I've really liked that component. And also that it's not just memorizing information and doing a multiple choice exam. It's really about applying the knowledge. And that's probably my favorite thing about this program is that in every course you get a way to actually apply the work that you just learned. So whether that's reading a fact pattern and really interpreting the law and fighting for whoever your client is at the time, or doing a negotiation where you're pretending that you're like actually in a courtroom or you're in a human rights tribunal and you're arguing for your plaintiff with another student team who's arguing with their defense. And there's like actually a fake human rights commission person listening to you. It's really engaging and it really, it really brings to light kind of how important it is to be able to apply what you're learning from a textbook into a real life situation. So that's what I've really loved about the courses. And just on the last note, another reason that I was really interested in taking the certificate is because my partner is also at Queen's Law and he's finishing up his degree. And that's why we moved to Kingston and why I'm lucky to be here today. But it's interesting him watching me take the course. I definitely want to just have a better understanding of what he was talking about day in, day out. So that also motivated me, but it's interesting that a lot of the cases I'm talking about is stuff that he learned in first year. So I think it's a nice segue to Isaac talking about his transition as well, that my partner Austin kind of echoes that statement that it really does help you learn how to read a fact pattern, learn the basic cases that you need in law, and how to think like a lawyer. So I'll pass off to Ozzy to talk about that. But I'm so excited that you guys are interested in the program. And if you have any questions about any of the courses or about what it's like to work full time, please let me know either here or find me on LinkedIn. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lucy. That was very helpful and insightful. So for people who want that flexibility of working and studying, Lucy is a testament to that because she is working full time. And the good thing too is that this is online. So you can take it from your office. You can take it from another remote location and it will work fine. And another takeaway I got from Lucy's experience is that she's not a lawyer, but the knowledge that she's gaining from this program has helped her in life in general, in her professional career as well. So it's something that we can think of. So now, speaking of lawyers, we have a student who actually pursued law school after taking this program. So Isaac, if you could share your experience, I'll leave the floor to you.
Of course. Thank you, Christina. And thank you to Lucy. I just want to emphasize how great my experience was as well. And I think her enthusiasm really, illustrated how transformative of an experience the certificate in law can be. I initially took it because I have a hard science background, and so I've been very insulated from law up until the certificate in law, whereas some of my friends in philosophy or in commerce might have had more of an opportunity to interact with it. I felt very ignorant of it. And so going in as, a plain and ordinary citizen with no knowledge of the law, I felt as though that it demonstrated to me how I interact with the law on an everyday basis, and that having that understanding really allowed me to take more stock of how the law impacts my life and also to appreciate my life as a Canadian citizen more. And so it was an absolutely incredible experience. And like I said, I had a hard science background, and it was so positive that it completely pivoted my long-term career aspirations in an alternative direction. And now I'm here at Queen's Law. So speaking of how it has value for a Queen's Law student or someone who aspires to be a lawyer or a law student in the future, a lot of the thinking that you do in the Certificate of Law courses is directly transferable to a JD degree. So there's this sort of pivotal shift that's required compared to undergraduate degrees, where you have to start looking at things and distinguishing between individual facts, distinguishing between what makes a case relevant here and what makes it not relevant in another place. And I think the Certificate in Law does a really great job at conveying that in a simple and accessible manner. So the courses were, I would say, as rigorous as my regular undergraduate degree courses. They weren't overly difficult or inaccessible as law, but at the same time, they really instilled in me a lot of the skills that I would later on use in my first year as a JD student. So for instance, I took public and constitutional law, and one of the cases that we looked at is a case called Vavilov, which is critical for administrative law. And so I got to my first year JD degree, and public law is one of the mandatory courses. Lo and behold, we discussed Vavilov again. And so having that kind of grounding and prior exposure to a case as pivotal as that from the certificate in law, I thought was a really big leg up. The other thing that Lucy alluded to, but I just want to emphasize the significance of, is that most of the assessment that you do in law school is these, so-called issue spotters or fact patterns, where you're given a hypothetical set of facts and you have to apply the law that you've learned as correctly and efficiently as you possibly can. And I really like that the certificate in law assessments mirrored that. So even though there's quizzes and essays, and yes, a lot of the courses had exams, so you have more flexibility in the assessment compared to the JD degree, which is mostly just exam-based, it still gives you the opportunity to try out skills that you'll be using as a law student. And finally, it really helped me figure out what parts of law I'm interested in. And when you eventually come to an admissions committee and put forward your personal statement, you're going to want to illustrate to them why law is significant to you and what you want to do with your JD degree. And I found that the certificate in law really gave me an opportunity to assess what parts of the law were valuable to me, how my experiences interacted with that, and best make the case for why I wanted to be a law student. And so I'm very happy to answer any questions about the courses I took, which were Introduction to Canadian Law, Public and Constitutional Law, Corporate Law, and Intellectual Property Law, or about the transition from the certificate in law to being a JD student in general. But the bottom line is I highly, highly recommend the experience. It was overwhelmingly positive.
Thank you so much, Isaac. That is very inspiring. And it's great to hear too that from a science background, you took up certificate in law and that led you to law school. And in all of those spaces, you were able to use your knowledge. And I know that when you become a lawyer, you'll definitely use the knowledge that you gain from the certificate program as well. So now that we have heard all the experiences and the program and the admissions, we will now be answering some of the questions that were sent. So we've sent a question form and we will first answer the questions that were sent in advance, but now the chat box is open. So for those people who have additional questions, please feel free to type them in the chat box and we will answer them as time permits. So first, let me start with some of the questions that were sent in advance. So this is for Hugo and Amanda. Are you permitted to take more than one course per semester?
Yeah, students can take, I've had some students just take one course in a term. I've had some students that have come in and taken all 4 courses in a single term. I think it just depends on what you're doing, your schedule, like if you've got personal commitments like work, family, you just kind of have to take that into consideration. But yeah, no, students can take as little or as many as possible in a term. We said you can complete in, 2 or 3 terms, you can complete in 2 or 3 years.
That's great. So there is no minimum or maximum. You can take a number of courses in a term. Another question is, do I need to have a bachelor's degree to apply as an interest student? So that's also for Hugo and Amanda.
So I missed the one part, Christina.
Yeah, so do
Repeat it?
I need a bachelor's degree to apply as an interest student for this
No.
program?
So interest students, there is no admission criteria for an interest students. So you can just apply. No supporting documentation is required, so you don't have to, in that admissions page that I went through, where I said the 2.6 GPA for university and the 2.9 GPA for college, that doesn't apply for the interest category. I do actually quickly want to go back, Christina, just the last question where we said you can do as little or as many courses as possible. The only exemption for that would be as an interest student. You would not be able to take all 4 courses in a single term because you would have to take the first 2 courses first. So they would be limited, but if you're in the program, there is no limit.
Great. Thank you for that. This is for Lucy and Isaac. So what advice can you offer prospective students who are interested in taking the program? So any one of you can go first.
I can go first. Any advice? Do it. Honestly, like even if you just take one course and you try it out, like that does not take much of your time. It's one semester, and that intro class, that my advice would be to take the intro class. And if you're not sure whether or not you want to take it, that'll give you a really great sense of whether or not you want to continue out through the program and what courses you want to take and continue on from, because as Hugo mentioned, you get a taste of like every little piece. And it's really interesting. The intro class also, there's different instructors based on their profession. So the instructor actually changes based on who the expert is in that field, which I really loved about that course. So that would be probably my main advice is just do it. And if you're going to do it, take that intro class. And I think you'll continue on from there just wonderfully. Yeah.
Perfect. How about you, Isaac?
I second, just do it. And then once you're in it, the professors were more than willing to talk to me about, areas of the law that I was ignorant in and provide their time and their expertise to explain concepts that I wasn't getting in a, more accessible manner. They're really wonderful people and they're all experts in their field. So take advantage of that opportunity that you have to communicate with them and learn what you can.
Thank you. That's very useful advice. So the next question will be for Hugo and Amanda. Can I take my undergrad degree while taking certificate in law? And will they count towards my overall credits for graduation?
So if you're a Queen student, yes, you can take the first 2 courses at the 200 level. Those courses can be used as electives towards your degree program. As I mentioned, you would just want to check with your faculty. Different faculties at Queen's have different sets of policies. As an example, arts and science students can take no more than 6 units outside faculty, whereas commerce, they have a little bit more flexibility, and I believe they have 9 or may even have more. So we need to check that. If you're a non-Queen students and you want to take these courses, I would just recommend speaking to your home faculty about transfer credits or a letter of permission.
Great. Thank you for that. I think this next question can be answered by everyone in the panel. I don't have prior legal knowledge. Can I take this program? Because Some people may be intimidated when they hear the word law. So if you don't know anything about it, are you qualified to take this? So anyone can start and just share.
I'll start. Yes, I had absolutely no legal knowledge, and that was the whole reason that I took it, and it was very accessible and very helpful.
And Lucy, I think you said the same thing too, right? When you were sharing your experience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll echo that. Sorry, go ahead, Hugo.
No, I'll just chime in and say that the courses were designed for students who have no knowledge of law. So for each of the courses, in particular the introduction course, the course was really designed with the idea that you don't have any knowledge of law coming into the course.
That's good to know. So, like, the main takeaway is anyone can take it. If you have law or legal knowledge, it will enhance it. If you don't, then you will learn a lot, which is good. So for now, let's check the chat. So for the courses, can they all be taken online? I think it was discussed that yes, this program is fully online, but I would like to just again confirm it with Amanda and Hugo.
Yep, the entire certificate in law is online. It's entirely done online. There is no need to come to campus or anything. The courses that also include the final exams are also done online. The only exception to the rules is that if you are a degree student on campus, you're able to take that blended version of Introduction to Canadian Law, but otherwise all courses are done online.
That's great. And in line with that question, the next question is, does the certificate in law program include live sessions or is it all pre-recorded? I think Lucy alluded to this earlier while she was sharing her experience, but I guess Hugo, you could just give an idea of the types of modules that students can expect.
Yeah, so most of the units in the course and modules in the course can be done separately, so on your own time, so they're asynchronous. But there are synchronous activities, so activities where you are participating with other students. And as Lucy mentioned, that's one of the things that many students find the most engaging from the course. So as Lucy pointed out, there's various activities in the different courses that are meant to give you a sense of how you apply your knowledge. So in the Aboriginal law course, for example, there's a negotiation activity. In the workplace law course, there's a human rights tribunal activity. The other courses, public and constitutional has a similar a tribunal activity as well. So there's all kinds of different activities. Usually they're group activities, so you get to interact with other students and you get to benefit from some of their knowledge and experience as well. But outside of those components, you can, as far as the content for the course, you can usually do it on your own time, and you can do it asynchronously.
That's great. Again, it offers flexibility, so you can do other activities while taking this program. The next question, yes.
Sorry, I just want to chime in too. If people are working full time, there's also lots of options about when you can do those synchronous times. So I just wanted to say you sign up for a group and what time works best for you. So don't be afraid if you're working full time to think that you would have to take time out of your workday. There's times that are on the weekend, there's times over lunch. So just if that's a concern for anyone here, just letting you know that once again, it's really flexible, and those synchronous sessions, once again, you often do have the choice of when you get to participate. Just wanted to add that.
Oh, that's great. Thank you, Lucy. Coming from a student, that's great to know that you have that flexibility and options in terms of taking those courses. The next question is, I am a current Queen student and I'm looking at applying for the fall. What is the acceptance rate for the program? So I guess that's a Hugo question, or Amanda.
It's basically you applied. There's no, we don't have a certain amount of seats or anything. If you apply and you meet the criteria, then you would be admitted.
So generally, the program has a good acceptance rate, but the first step is to give your application, submit it so that it could be assessed. And then the school will contact you if you're accepted into the program. The next question is, I am an interest student and finishing up Introduction to Canadian Law. It appears as 201-701. Once I finish one more, will I automatically go into the certificate program?
Yes, so if you meet academic progression, which is a C+ in your Introduction to Canadian Law course, Law 201-701, and then you take one additional course and you also get a C+ or higher, excuse me, So at the end of when final grades are released, what I look at is I see if you've met that academic progression, and if you do, it's just automatic. I just matriculate you into the program, and then you'll get an email just saying you've been moved to the certificate in law.
That's great to hear. Just 2 courses and you should be matriculated. The next question is again JD related, which will reiterate. So I left university a few years to work in my community, where I have 1.5 years to finish my law degree. Once the certificate in law is obtained, does that qualify you for admissions to a JD? Well, you've clarified that it doesn't, but it helps you in a certain way. So I just want to hear from Amanda and maybe Isaac again can share how this program has helped him going to the law degree.
Yeah, so I mean, there admissions into law school, there's many different factors that you have to take into consideration. Most Canadian JD programs require at least 2 years of full-time undergraduate study for admission, and then most do require the degree. So these courses, along with anything else on your academic record, will be considered. And these presence of these courses may show that you have that level of interest and could strengthen your application. However, we unfortunately just can't guarantee that it'll lead to admission into your law school. They're just like we've kind of mentioned it before. They're just kind of more designed to provide a better idea if you want to apply, and give you a helpful background once admitted, as Isaac and that has alluded to.
Okay, so I think Isaac has shared his experiences, but if you have more questions about that, you can just type it in the chat box. The next question is directed towards Hugo. Can someone please talk about how grades are generally assigned? Is there a typical balance between quizzes, essays, class participation, and final exams, or does it depend on the course?
Well, it does depend on the course. As you know, most courses have quizzes that are either weekly or they're done per module. So when you do a particular section of content, there's usually a quiz at the end of that. We have some courses do have final exams, so we still have a few courses that have final exams, including the introduction course, and our workplace law course, and our public and constitutional law course. The corporate law course. But the other courses have other kinds of larger sort of culminating activities. So for Aboriginal law, for example, it's putting together a video presentation on a particular topic in that area. For others, it might be the group activities that you will be engaging in with other students. So there's a variety of assessment options, and I'll let Lucy and Isaac answer this, but I think they're fairly well spread out, that it makes it easier for students to plan around those assessments.
Great, thank you so much, Hugo. So if Lucy or Isaac, do you want anything to add to that?
Lucy said the same thing, but I thought the assessments were very well spread out and give you an opportunity to demonstrate different strengths that you have. So if you're not really an exam or a test taking person, lots of them had substantive papers or some opportunity where you can do written work and balance out your grade that way. And I'll also say, I know final exams are very scary, but I personally found the ones that we did in the certificate in law extremely helpful as a preparation, tool for what the final exams in law school, my JD degree, would actually be. And so if that's something that you're interested in, it's great practice.
Great, thank you so
I
much.
also want to, Christina, can I just mention one thing too? If anybody wants to know the breakdown of, quizzes, essays, and the percentage, you can always go to the takelaw.ca website. And if you go to the courses page, each course outlines the assessment weighting. So it'll tell you what the final exam is worth, the quizzes are worth, the group work, whatever it may be. It's all laid out there for students to have a look to see, to help them better prepare on which courses they want to take.
Thank you so much, Amanda. And like what Amanda mentioned, if you need more information about the program or the courses, just visit takelaw.ca. and you'll find information about certificate in law. The next question, I am currently employed with an administrative tribunal. Would you recommend that I still take the introduction course, Introduction to Canadian Law? So I guess that's for Hugo.
Yeah, I think as a general rule, I would recommend to students entering the program that they take the introduction course, even if you do have a bit of legal background, just because it does, as Lucy mentioned as well, and Isaac, it does orient you to the other courses that we offer. So it gives you a little taste of the other aspects of law that you may not be as familiar with. It's not a requirement though, so you can go ahead and take, if you have a particular interest in another course, you don't have to take the introduction course first. But I think the introduction course really does give you a very good background and will make you even more successful in our other courses if you do take it.
Thank you, Hugo. The next question is actually related to that. I work in mental health and justice. Would this certificate be beneficial to me? So for people who are already working in certain industries, like, will it still be helpful to them?
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely. I mean, the courses will cover aspects of those areas. We for example, in our introduction to law course, we do cover some aspects of criminal law. We cover, other aspects, for example, constitutional rights and human rights in the workplace law course in particular that are relevant to mental health issues. So I think, there isn't necessarily a course that will be specifically related to those areas, but as a whole, I think the program would really help you to have a better understanding of the way that law affects those particular issues.
Thank you so much, Hugo. The next question, I think, is from a current student in Queens. So I'm a first-year student who has enrolled in Law 201-701 for the summer. If I apply to the certificate program in the fall, will I be able to use this credit?
Yes, so any courses that first year students take between the first and second year in that summer term, once you've been admitted to the program, this doesn't just apply to first year students too, any year, if you're in second or even third year. Any courses that you take prior to admission to the certificate in law at the 200 level would be transferred over. So you'd be able to count it as an elective and towards the certificate.
Great. Thank you so much, Amanda. The next question I can answer, but I need more insights as well from you and Amanda. So I'm actually mapping myself for the law program, but I wish to start with an immigration consultant certificate program and then proceed with the law. Am I on the right track? So just to clarify, there are two programs offered by the certificate in law. First is this certificate by the Faculty of Law. So first is the certificate in law. The other program is graduate diploma in immigration and citizenship law. Where they differ is that this program is a certificate, whereas the other program, the immigration program, is a graduate diploma. In terms of how it will help you, we have courses like international law, which could help you gain knowledge about international policies, which you could apply to immigration. So if you'd like, you could probably take some of the courses with the certificate program and at the same time try to apply for the other program and see how those courses fit together. But if you have more insights, Hugo, just please feel free to share them as well.
No, I think you summed it up very well, Christina. I think, it's important not to confuse this program with the graduate diploma in immigration and citizenship law, which is a completely different program. As a general rule, will you learn some things in the certificate in law that would help you in a career as an immigration consultant, for example, or in any legal career? Yes, of course. And so for that, from that perspective, it's useful, but it certainly doesn't qualify you to become either an immigration consultant or a legal professional in any sense.
Thank you, Hugo. Another question, if you are Indigenous, is there a different pathway to enter the JD program? So like what we mentioned, this program will not automatically qualify you for the JD program, but I guess I just like to ask Amanda, are there other specifics for Indigenous participants or applicants that we should take note of?
I mean, there are definitely different categories for the JD program, but I would definitely recommend reaching out to the JD admissions to learn more about those, because I don't know those well enough to answer that question entirely. I just don't want to give any incorrect information. So I would reach out to the JD admissions program and they can assist further.
Okay, thank you so much. So we have a couple of minutes left, but we'll answer as much as we could. Since this program is online and there is a course that could be taken in person, how is the graduation process like? So do they have a ceremony on campus? Is it an online graduation? How does it work?
So for those students who are on campus completing a degree, they would receive their certificate and their degree in the same diploma tube. So they would attend their home ceremony. However, if you do not have another ceremony to go to, you can always attend the law ceremony. A lot of students, especially distance students, just get their certificate mailed to them as well. There's different options when you submit your application to graduate through the Office of the University Registrar. There are different options. You can either pick it up, get it mailed to you, or you can attend a ceremony.
Thank you, Amanda. And there's a follow-up question, but graduation, what's the graduation rate for students who take this program?
I mean, we have had, what are we at now? I think we're almost at 400 students that have graduated from the program. I'm not sure we have such a, like, because it's not a program where you go and you do it over a 2-year period or a 3-year period that we can really gauge our graduation rate. Just because students can complete it, there's so much fluctuation and when you can do it in that. But I mean, yeah, like I would say most students that do apply to the certificate in law do definitely complete it.
Perfect.
I don't know if Hugo has anything else or anybody else has any, to answer that question. Yeah.
No, I think, I would say most of our students who take the courses and complete them successfully. So, and go on to graduate for sure.
Yeah, because the different, like, if you don't, I mean, like I had prefaced in one of the other slides, is that you do need to meet that academic progression. So as long as you meet the C+, there are students who, sometimes they don't meet, they have to take 5 courses as opposed to 4 because they don't meet that academic progression, but they just retake or take another one. And as soon as they get academic progression in that last one, then they can graduate from the program.
Thank you so much, Amanda. So we are running out of time, so we'll do 2 last questions. One question is, can credit be transferred if it has been taken from another university in Canada?
So we don't, because our program is so small and it's only 4 courses, we don't actually accept transfer credits. Now, I know some students who are attending other universities or college sometimes will ask for these courses to be used as transfer credits to another degree program. But unfortunately, just because the program is so small, we don't accept transfer credits at this time.
Okay, that's good to know. So the last question is, I am currently not located in Canada or Ontario. Can I still take the program?
Yes, anyone from anywhere. We have students in Ontario. We have students, in any of the provinces, US, European countries, all over the world. We have students that take our courses. The only thing you sometimes have to take into consideration sometimes is that if you're doing the, submitting your assignments, whatever it may be, everything is done in the Eastern time zone. So you just have to take that into consideration. But yeah, other than that, no, students can take it from anywhere.
Okay.
And just to reiterate too, that Amanda mentioned, sorry, about the fees being different for international students as well.
That's correct.
If you're not a Canadian citizen, but yeah.
That's great. I'm checking the chat. I think we're out of questions and we're also out of time. So before we just end the session, I would like to hear just one final advice from each of the panelists as to what you could say about this program and again, like how to encourage people to take it. So we'll start with Hugo and then Amanda, Lucy, and then Isaac.
My advice is just to reach out if you have any questions. So please do email either me directly or the email that's there on the screen, and we're happy to answer your questions.
And then Amanda?
Yeah, I mean, Hugo just stole what I was going to say. No, but yeah, literally, if you check the website, if you have questions or you want to get some academic advising, whatever it may be, that law certificate at Queen's U goes directly to me, and I would be more than happy to answer any questions over email, set up a phone appointment, whatever it may be to help you out.
Thank you so much, Amanda. So from our students, Lucy and Isaac, some final words.
Yeah, I can go first. more from a perspective of when you're in the program, I would say just make sure you're really engaged. I think you'll get a lot out of it if you actually like work with your group members, go to the tutorials, talk to your instructors, and really make the most out of those in person and those simulation activities that really put you in kind of that real world experience, and you'll gain a lot out of it.
And
I
Isaac?
was actually going to say the same thing. So an additional piece of advice would be reach out to students who have taken the certificate in law, like on LinkedIn. Virtually everyone I've ever spoken to who has graduated from this program has enjoyed it. And so they'll probably mirror what Lucy and I have said. But if you would like more testimony, it's out there.
Thank you very much. That's very insightful. And thank you again so much to Hugo, Amanda, Lucy, and Isaac for talking about certificate in law and just sharing your experiences. So before we end and to know more about the program, we encourage you to check our website and official social media accounts. So our website is takelaw.ca. Our Instagram account is QueensU_certificate in law. And then for Twitter, this is the general Queens Law account, Queens U Law. And then for Facebook, please visit our page at Queens Law Certificate. So again, my name is Christina Asperilla. I'm the marketing coordinator for the online programs. Thank you so much for joining us and have a great afternoon.